Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts, sports journalist David Todd, and from SteelersDepot.com, Dave Bryan. Just a couple of Daves, chillin', talking Steelers. Now, here's Dave and Dave.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Dave, Season 9, Episode 13. I am Dave Bryan from SteelersDepot.com, and sitting in for my co-host David Todd on this Friday as he is taking care of some business in New York is my partner in crime, Alex Kozora. Alex, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Dave. And just to get this off the top, no, Obi Melifonwu will not be a Steeler. Please stop asking me. He is injured. He will go to the Raiders injured reserve. I just want to make that very clear.
Yeah, and I've been asked that a few times, and I think over 100 times I've been asked, will the Steelers trade Le'Veon Bell to the Raiders for Khalil Mack as well? And then there's the whole, I got asked, are the Steelers going to bring back and re-sign Wesley Saunders at tight end? I don't understand. I just don't understand how some of these people get to these situations. Obviously, if you listen to, they must not listen to the Terrible Podcast. That must be what it is, or else they wouldn't ask questions such as that. Are you lit, Gucci 100? Are you ready to go?
Oh, okay. After that, I've never been less ready to go.
Look, I'm trying to continually get in touch with the younger listeners here.
You'd be the worst undercover cop ever.
Yeah. I'd be a good detective. I just wouldn't be good at the social aspect of it, exactly. the fitting in aspect of it. Okay, boy, do we have David Todd picked a bad day to be away because we actually have a lot of good stuff to talk about today, and I think we'll start off with two contract extensions, if you will. One that we knew that was coming, and one that, probably not a huge surprise that it got done, but it wasn't going to be one that I wasn't going to be shocked if it didn't get done. Talking about the Steelers extending the contracts of kicker Chris Boswell, who we were 98.965% sure would happen, and then inside linebacker Vince Williams. Vince Williams, it's a 4-year contract, a 3-year extension. Boswell, it's a 5-year contract, 4-year extension. Label it however you want, but both these guys were under contract for the 2018 season already. First and foremost, before we talk a little bit about some of the specifics related to those deals, what do you think?
I mean, I'm thrilled that both deals got done. I don't think anyone would gripe the Boswell deal. It's more than well deserved. He's been such a stabilizing force after the path it took to get to Chris Boswell after the Swisham injury in the Hall of Fame game. Then you go with Garrett Hartley and then Josh Scobie and the disaster that Scobie was, and you bring in other established kickers for a tryout, and then you bring in a guy no one's ever heard of, myself included, in Boswell. He wins the job. And, I mean, the rest is basically history. So he's been excellent. He was so clutch last year. And, I've always been a big fan of Vince Williams. I know that there's been some debate in the comment sections and within Steelers Nation about the long-term viability and is Vince Williams a starter. But for me, I think he's a perfect buck linebacker who was a great pass rusher last year and is a menace in that B gap. So I was thrilled that both deals got done. Those are both two good dudes. And I don't think the money's that big of an issue either.
He is a good football player.
Yes.
If you look up football player, probably in the dictionary, his picture with them big wide eyes, should probably be there. I was a bit surprised though that they got it done with him.
Well, I think.
Let me tell you why. Because I thought I figured he's the kind of guy that you could just let play out at the end of this season. Would probably be what's the right word? The Ramon Foster of inside linebackers during free agency next year, and thus you could probably easily re-sign him right before free agency started or slightly afterward. That's not a diss on him. I just didn't think that there would be a huge demand for him after the season is over. That's why I really wasn't pushing for him to get done before the start of this season, if that makes sense.
It does, no, and I don't think there would have been a huge demand. I think he could have done the deal after the season. I wasn't, like you or really anybody else, anticipating a deal to get done now. But I think when you realize, obviously, Ryan Shazi's future is very much up in the air right now, you still don't have a long-term answer for his replacement at that max spot. Do you want to even take the chance of going into next free agency with neither inside linebacker spot locked up and hoping you can get Vince Williams brought back? And you probably could, but you never know. There's no guarantee of it. So let's get Vince Williams locked up now, so we only have to worry about that one spot in the future.
Is that a good analogy, the Ramon Foster of inside linebackers, or no?
No, I think that's a very good analogy.
I mean, because he's steady like Foster,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, you know what you're getting. I mean, in fact, more on the field more than Ramon Foster is, as far as injuries and all go. He's a good special teams player, still can function in that area. And he bleeds black and gold on top of it, just like Ramon Foster. So that's the way I kind of viewed him. Now, the specifics related, let's start with Vince Williams first and foremost. That deal reportedly, according to Ed Bouchette, now, we're not going to have the complete numbers unless they come out today, which I kind of doubt, being as how kind of these are, these aren't high profile deals. We're probably not going to get specifics on them until Monday or Tuesday when the contracts hit the NFLPA and all. But it's not going to be hard to dissect them beforehand. Vince Williams, according to Ed Bouchette, $20.6 million over 4 years. Now, here's the thing that you need to keep in mind when you look at numbers reported like this. That's over 4 years. You need to keep in mind that Vince Williams was set to already earn $2 million in 2018, the final year of his other deal. So essentially what you do is you take that $20.6 million, you subtract the $2 million from it, you subtract 1 year from it, and that's what's called the new money. So he's got $18.6 million, thereabouts, probably. We'll see what the final numbers say, over 3 years. So that's what, 6.2 new money average for Vince Williams, which should put him right there around the top 15 highest paid linebackers, inside linebackers in the league. So, it's respectful to him to not make him, play at $2 million a season when he's been starting all this time. I imagine when we do finally get the final numbers on this deal, the guaranteed money, or let me say the money that Vince Williams will earn in 2018 will probably be right around $5 million. In short, that's going to be a combination of his base salary in 2018 and whatever the signing bonus he was given. I suspect the signing bonus was between $4 and $5 million, and the base salary between $700,000 and $1 million, depending on how they want to structure it. As far as his cap charge goes, it was already set to be $2.5 million in 2018. It's not going to move much either way, to be quite honest with you. So this was not a move that's going to free up a lot of cap space. It might, depending on how they structure it, it might eat up another $300,000 in cap space, or it might stay right at the same thing. So don't, for those of you that thought, they're doing this to free up cap space to get somebody else, no. I'll be shocked if my numbers are very far off. And this deal, being as how it's 4 years in total, he's going to be, you always hate to talk about boy, when are they going to cut this guy? But he will be cuttable in a couple of years with a small signing bonus. Not that we want to look that far ahead. Now on the Chris Boswell deal, Ed Bouchette's reporting $19.72 million over 5. Once again, he was already due $2.9 million in 2018. So if you subtract that take 19.72, subtract that nearly $3 million, you come out with what, 16.8 or 9 or right around in there. Divide that by 4, and that's your new money average. He's going to be right there at the top of the highest paid average yearly value kickers in the NFL, 1 or 2 right around in there probably. Once again, the guaranteed money isn't going to be huge, probably a little bit more in 2018 than what Vince Williams got, but his cap number, which was already scheduled to be $2.9 million, is not going to go much in either direction either. So these were not cap-saving moves. These were, we want you longer term, we want to re-up your moves.
Isn't it crazy, Dave, that Vince Williams is going to have a longer Steelers career than Le'Veon Bell? Could you have believed that after the draft?
Never. This is, in fact, I mean, it says something about Vince Williams that this is already his 3rd contract in the NFL.
Yeah, it says 1, he's committed to being a Steeler. 2, he's certainly earned his contract. He's earned his worth in the NFL. And 3, the Steelers take care of the guys that want to stay here.
Right. I mean, could he... I guess we get into the debate of could he have gotten the same amount had he, hit free agency next year, blah, blah, blah. But, look, they are committed to him. If they weren't, they wouldn't give him this deal now because, as you say, look, you got the thing going on with Ryan Shazier. We'll see what Bostic is this year and isn't. Matakevich, I hope people are finally realizing now, bless his heart, this guy is just a special team guy. This guy is the John Fiala of these last few years, and he's sadly, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to say sadly. I mean, he is a hell of a special teams player. He is okay as a backup buck linebacker, right? I mean, the guy can play downhill and play against the run, but to expect this guy to be a starter for 3-4 games or more is just unreal. So this is a commitment to Vince Williams, who, by the way, it looks like he might be wearing the green dot this year as well. And according to a few interviews that he gave, I guess the last couple of days, he might be the one staying on the field in some sub-package situations.
Honestly, this is the first time I've heard of it, but I'm doing a little dance right now. I mean, I talked about that like a month ago. Why can't Williams be the 3-down linebacker? Why do they always have to pull off the other guy? So what did he, do you know specifically what he said?
I think the current plans are for him to wear the green dot and him to stay on the field. So
wow,
we'll see,
Good.
Look, I mean, this guy has come a long way because if you go back and look at his Florida State tape and his first couple years with the Steelers, him and coverage just did not go together. In fact, Florida State pulled him off the field in sub-package situations. I mean, he did not. Now, he flat-footed a lot of times on tape. Even in zone situations. Now, has his football IQ improved at the NFL level? Yeah, I think it has. Is he just more comfortable? More reps? More? I don't know. I don't view him personally as a better as an upgrade over Bostic as far as coverage. To be honest with you,
I think he would be. If only for anything else, just because of his knowledge of the system and how comfortable he is and how many reps he's gotten with Keith Butler and knows what this defense expects. But I think they're similar. But I think honestly, Williams is a little better athlete than Jon Bostic is right now.
The thing, look, Bostic is going to communicate regardless if he's wearing the green dot or not. I mean, that's who he is. we'll have to see how this transpires now. Because Vince should obviously know the defense inside and out at this point.
Right.
So the question then becomes which one which one gives you more in situations when you only have one of them on the field. So
yeah, dime.
Dime. So we'll see.
That's great. No, I that's fantastic. I mean, I think Williams has always gotten a bad rap for his coverage abilities. Obviously, he's not Shazier. Obviously, there are limitations in what you can do with him. But I think if you go back, over his starting career, especially the last 2 years, and you look at the negative plays he's had in coverage, you're not going to find a lot. And yes, some of that can be scheme related, whether they're not asking him to do as many demanding things as they would with Ryan Shazier, and that's going to change this year. I get that, but I think he's a good zone player. I think he's a good tape study guy. I mean, he's not a super instinctual guy. Jerry Olszewski's kind of admitted that in the past, but he puts in the work, and that's a great first step to getting better and to make up for some of those limitations. So, that's the guy that's been with this defense for a while now. That's the guy that's almost a leader, and everyone's going to know and trust. And if you have him and Bostic communicating, that hopefully this defense can fix all the breakdowns that it had last year.
The thing with him in coverage sometimes, and people need to understand what they're looking at a lot of times too. In zone drops, how do you feel about inside line, or really any underneath player or any player in the secondary being charged with giving up a completion if it's a true zone? I'm not talking about any traps or anything like that, because players are taught to drop or to wall off into certain areas, in zone coverages. So, and then especially when it comes to the inside linebackers, they have to watch the quarterback's eyes a lot of time, because they're looking, the entire defense is looking forward. So, a lot of times you're going to give up a lot of catches regardless. And I think the big aspect is to look more at what happens after the catch than it does in allowing it. Now, obviously, if your rush and coverage are working together, you're going to create smaller a few times smaller windows, and the need for a quarterback to make and read those windows quicker, right? So, how do you feel about sometimes these especially second level linebackers being charged with completions against, especially like zone crossers? I mean, that's so hard.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree a lot with some of that stuff and some of the charting you did this summer on Jon Bostic and even Artie Burns. You can kind of see some of the flaws in the system, but honestly, I don't spend any time thinking about it because, it doesn't affect my opinion. I charted personally, so I have a different evaluation of what's really a catch allowed or not. But yeah, zone coverage is tough. It's all about feel. Like you said, reading the quarterback, knowing his mannerisms, when that shoulder dips, his eyes, watching that ball come off his hand come off the ball, anticipating when the throw is gonna come. A lot of actions happening behind you, obviously, so you have to understand route concepts. That goes to film study. Hey, number 3 is running an out. That probably means there's a crosser coming from number 2 behind me. I need to get depth. I need to anticipate that. My film study says that they run X concept in this situation. I need to assume that here. So it goes back to a lot of film study, a lot of anticipation, a lot of high IQ football stuff. That's what made Shazier so great, combining a really high football IQ with really elite athleticism. And I know that Williams is not obviously the most athletic guy in the world, but I think he's better than people give him credit for. I think he's a smart guy that works really hard at his craft. And obviously, this is the result of a 6th-round pick that got started as a rookie when Larry Foote went down as kind of a 2-down guy and has really, been a self-made man.
You're not that optimistic about Bostic, are you?
Well, I know I wanted to talk about the debate about Bostic, but now that you said Vince Williams might wear the green dot, that kind of shifts my thought a little bit because, I'm not – I don't know how I want to phrase this. I mean, I know you've had some good discussion, and I agree with you halfway in the sense of, it's only been 2 preseason games. They're just the preseason. Let's give, especially a guy like Bostic, a new guy, some more time. And you rightly pointed out the run defense is solid, and it was against Green Bay, and I've seen Bostic in camp, and the run defense I think has been good. But my concern with Bostic, and I think most fans' concern, is not Bostic against the run. It's Bostic going backwards. It's Bostic in coverage, and you don't want him matched up on tight end. So that would be my concern if he's going to be the 3-down guy. But if that's going to change,
but do you want Vince Williams running with him too? I mean, who of us wants any of the inside linebackers that the Steelers have right now running with Jimmy Graham?
Well, no, I totally get that, but that's not. I wasn't saying that. Well, how do I want to phrase this? The people were talking about should they go outside the organization.
Do you think Vince Williams is a better cover linebacker than Jon Bostic?
I'd say yes. Based on what I've seen so far.
See, I have them about equal, to be honest.
I mean, it's close, but I think Vince, knowing the system a little bit better, is going to give him a leg up.
Now, is Jon Bostic going to be here the next 3 years? Probably not.
No.
Is Vince Williams going to be here the next 3 years? Well, the odds are better than that than Bostic probably being here. Bostic's really going to have. I can see Bostic being here, this year and next, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, it wouldn't surprise me if Bostic's one and done. Either. He's got to stay healthy and on the field. That's been a bugaboo of his for a while. So, and we'll see what kind of situations, with sub package and how he's used that way. But I think he's being undersold a little bit as far as his ability to communicate on the field, his ability to play against the run. And quite honestly, I think I don't think his pass coverage, skills are great, but I think they're a little bit. I don't think he gets enough kind of credit for it.
Yeah, that's where I think we have the bit of a disagreement. I'm pretty sure that most fans that have gripes with Jon Bostic, they're not gripes about communication. They're not gripes about run defense. It's all about coverage. And
the gripe about Jon Bostic is he's not Ryan Shazier. That's a gripe.
Well, yeah, I mean that's getting into the yinzer, but I'm talking about like the legitimate complaints which exist from Steeler fans that say, is this guy going to be able to cover? And that's certainly my concern as well.
What about
We've seen Vince Williams cover as a Steeler, and I don't think it's been half bad.
Yeah, well, the other, probably you could say the same thing about Bostic last year in with Indianapolis, but as long as the other half bad is not giving up explosive plays, you're in good shape there. Definitely will be something that will, a position that we will be monitoring and talking about more than just this podcast here. Now let's talk about the other kid in there, Matthew Thomas.
Well, one real quick, one last thought on Vince Williams. One other reason why I'd be excited about him being a 3-down guy is his ability to rush the passer, which Bostic certainly doesn't have.
Now that you're not going to get an argument out of me there.
Because on 3rd and long, you got to be able to cover or blitz, get after the quarterback. And while, obviously Vince Williams might have some limitations in coverage, he can get after the quarterback from that inside linebacker spot like almost no one else in the NFL. It was 8 sacks last year.
Right. You are not going to get an argument. And in fact, if you're going to stack up the two and put them close in run defense. Now, look, I will say this. I think I think Vince has too much of a we've seen it way too many times with it looking like him overrunning plays
against the run.
Against the run,
yeah.
And we don't. And in my opinion, in the studying that I've done in Bostic, he's more savvy against the run. But if you were to put him, let's say you have both these guys. Let's even say you put Williams slightly better than Bostic in coverage. Let's say you put Bostic slightly better than Williams against the run and reading and gap integrity and yada yada. Now Williams might be a little bit better at stacking and shedding. Okay, a little bit because Bostic kind of a little bit lower when he takes on some of these guys and can't get off sometimes. But let's imagine both those things are equal. Yeah, Vince Williams is the better pass rusher of the two. I mean, we see, especially last year, we could pull up probably a dozen at least instances of him just destroying running backs. I mean, not all of them led to sacks, obviously, but quite a few of them did. And, the age-old saying, if you send him, he better get home. And he's doing that or did that last season with some regularity. So is this unit as bad as people are wanting Bowman brought in? They're wanting everybody not named Bostic, Williams, and Matakevich brought in right now.
Well, obviously, I don't give a second thought to the Bowman and the Timmons argument. I know I get asked about that, and I know you do as well, about 11 times a second. But that's not going to happen. Could you explore options of bringing in a true starter at inside linebacker to play opposite Vince Williams? Yeah, I would entertain the idea, but I just don't know who that guy would be. I mean, I've gone through the list, and I'll have a post on some possible waiver wire trade kind of options within the next couple of days, but you cannot find an inside linebacker that's going to be a slam dunk starter that's acquirable at this point.
No, and we know the rules when it comes to the Steelers, when it comes to defensive players as well too. A, they better be under 30. Mm-hmm. B, they better be willing to take a cheap deal. C, they better be able to play some special teams.
Yeah, I mean, the best names I've come up with that could even be possible is that Gruger Hill kid in Philadelphia, who's not even a true inside guy, like Kyle Emanuel from the Chargers and Nick Kwiatkowski from the Bears. And none of those three guys, Gruger Hill maybe, but none of those three guys really get me super excited.
All right, what about this guy? What about this kid, Matthew Thomas, out of Florida State? Does he get you excited?
Well, I saw that GIF you had of him covering that route at the end of the Packers game, and that's certainly unique athleticism that you're not going to find anywhere else on this roster. But I do want to caution Steeler fans because, again, I get asked about Matthew Thomas daily. He's not going to start week 1. It's not going to happen.
No, it's not. But let me tell you, that guy, in that Green Bay game alone, you really get a good sense of his athleticism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he can cover.
Not only that one play, but the running down of the wide receiver. For a guy his size that moves the way he does. Now, obviously, we haven't seen enough of him off the ball in other situations because we don't have all 20. A lot of times on the all 22, it helps you, in my opinion, it helps you better see athleticism on the side to side, on the sideline. To sideline coverage. I mean, you can watch Ryan Shazier's all 22 and say, damn, how the heck did he get here? And you could also watch the all 22 and understand Sean Spence didn't get there. Ryan Shazier would have got there. That kind of thing. So, it'd be unfortunately, we're probably not going to learn much more about Matthew Thomas the rest of the preseason. He'll obviously play some, we think, against the Titans in the second half. Probably play a lot against the Panthers. Maybe we'll get to see a little bit of it on display in the finale there. Now, this guy's got a lot to learn about the defense still, too, and that's one of the things that's going to keep him off the field. We're both assuming he makes the 53, right?
Yes, I feel pretty confident about that at this point.
I do as well, too. Now, the only question becomes, are they going to keep 4 or are they going to keep 5? Could we see Matthew Thomas get on the field later on in the season?
Well, that's, now that you're telling me that Vince Williams is going to have the green dot, and let's assume that that's true, then I think that could open the possibility for him seeing playing time later on. Because my big concern with Thomas, people wanting him to start right away, was that, I was assuming that he was going to be the play caller, have the green dot. Your 3-down guy generally has the green dot because you're not having to rotate guys, and you have the same player out there all the time. And obviously, an undrafted rookie free agent doing that week 1, he's just trying to pick up the playbook. I mean, that would just be, chaos. So that would not be my concern there. But if it's going to be Vince Williams' responsibility, then obviously it's going to be a whole lot easier for Thomas. So, is it possible by, mid-season, later in the season, if Bostic or whoever's struggling, if they would turn to a Matthew Thomas or at least start involving Matthew Thomas in maybe some situational, maybe they create some sort of sub-package for him? I'm not going to rule it out. What do you think?
I'm not going to rule it out either. I mean, because because I think they could get in a situation, A, injury, or B, time just start. Maybe they think he might be the guy. They need to find out a lot about him, I think, this year, as much as they can during the preseason, obviously, and maybe a little bit later on in the season. Well, obviously, they'll find out some about him during practices and all like that. I mean, could this be the guy?
I mean, potentially
pass this year.
Potentially, but he's got to make the 53 first before I start thinking about if he's going to be the guy or not. He's got to get 53. He's got to get a hat on game day. He's got to perform well in special teams. I think he's capable of all that, but that's just too far ahead for me to try to talk about.
Sure. But I mean, look, now the question only becomes, in our opinion, if they keep 5 or not. And you would think if they do, it would be L.J. Fort, because Matakevich isn't going anywhere because of what he does on special teams. Fort gives you something on special teams, but you would hope that in keeping Matthew Thomas, that he's going to get. I mean, you need a lot of special teamers, but you don't need them. You don't need them all, right?
They're not all. It's likely that one inside linebacker is going to be inactive on game day.
Right. So, in my opinion, and look, I mean, is Fort going to be a guy that people climb over to claim, or to sign? So, that's one way to look at it there. Could Matthew Thomas be a guy that somebody, could he be that guy that, oh no, there's no way that he clears waivers? Could he be that guy? Maybe, but we still haven't seen a lot out of him. But when it comes to linebackers, you always need special teamers, right? So he could. So yeah, I think he ultimately makes it. All right, boy, we spent 30 minutes talking about inside linebackers for the most part. I guess we should talk a little bit about what Mike Tomlin had to say during his press conference on Thursday. The first thing I think that should stick out is the fact that, and we knew this, Ben will play in this game. I don't know if we know how much Ben's going to play in this game. I would think if you look back at history, if he has a good first couple 2 or 3 series, that should be enough. I don't see the need to have him out there per se the whole first half. But if they go 3 and out a couple of times and Tennessee ball controls, yada, yada, that could turn into the first half easily there. So Ben will play. Mike Tomlin said that Landry Jones will play in this game. Mike Tomlin also said that it's very unlikely that all 4 quarterbacks are not going to play. So that tells me that Mason Rudolph will play, that Joshua Dobbs won't play.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see exactly how they approach it. They're definitely kind of that 2 dogs, 1 bone mentality. Obviously, there's not a roster spot at stake for Mason Rudolph, but just creating that competition. But no, I expect Ben to play a quarter. Landry would play second quarter, maybe a little bit into the third, and then they'll finish out with whoever they're finishing out with.
Yeah, and what do you think about that? Do you want Landry coming out? Do you want to go through the process of how he does, ending a half and coming out and starting a second half?
Is that what he normally does? Does he normally come out to start the third?
I don't remember.
I don't either.
I've done so much. I can tell you what Ben doesn't
right.
do. For the last several seasons. I can see that happen, especially if you let Rudolph play the let Landry come out and run the first series of the second half, and hopefully that's a good series.
Right.
And then let Rudolph play the rest of the game there.
I would leave it a little flexible. It just depends on how the quality of work for Landry goes in the second quarter. If they get a couple good drives in, they get some situational work at the end of the half, maybe you can just let Landry do the second quarter. But since they didn't play him last week and his playing time has been understandably limited in the preseason, I'm okay with giving him another series or 2 in the third quarter because he's not going to play in the fourth game.
People too high on Joshua Dobbs right now. I mean, you saw I have contextualized and charted every throw of his right now. Look, to me, there's progress this year in Joshua Dobbs. But I would say, how could there not be progress in Joshua Dobbs this preseason? If Landry Jones makes those 2 touchdown throws, I said this the other day, if Landry Jones makes those same 2 touchdown throws, the torches are coming out and they're leading them to the hot metal bridge. Those balls were interceptable. There's no other way to put it, I don't think. Now, you posted a nice GIF yesterday or day before of him doing some nice things, talking about Dobbs stepping up into the pocket. I'm not a Dobbs hater. I wish they could keep 4. I really, really do. But the odds of that happening are just slim and none. You have to go back to the late 90s last time they kept 4 on the 53-man roster. Where are you on Joshua Dobbs right now entering this game that he's probably not going to play in?
I mean, it's obviously a bad sign for him that he's not going to be able to play in this one. He'll only get the 4th one without any starters to help him out there. I mean, you've seen some progress in Josh Dobbs. I think there's talent there. He's definitely a talented quarterback, both mentally and physically, that he deserves to be on a 53-man roster somewhere. I fully believe that. It just won't be in Pittsburgh. You've seen some of the arm talent, some of the accuracy downfield. He's got a live arm. Obviously, he's got mobility. And I think he's done a really nice job in situational football. I think continually in some of the end-of-half stuff, some of the third down things in the preseason, he's done a nice job of. It's just been the turnovers. He's just been too reckless with the football. Like you said, those 2 touchdown passes, they were really jump balls, and Washington made a couple great plays on it. He threw 6 picks in camp. He threw interceptions in his first 2 games. You just can't turn the ball over that much and expect to stick around in this league for too long. He's got to clean that up, and I think he can. But like you said, in Pittsburgh, or at least on the 53, it's not going to happen. Now, do you think they're going to put him on the practice squad, or how do you think they handle, if they cut him, where does he go from there?
Well, what good? My question, I'll answer your question with a question. It's what I do very well. It's what's kept me married for 20-something years, I think.
20-something, you better be careful. You better find out what that second number is.
Or been with her. We've been together 31 years. Can you imagine living with me being with me for 31 years? You probably
That's sainthood.
Yeah, it's pretty close. I'll answer a question with a question. Wait, what was the question again?
Josh Dobbs' future. They cut him. What happens then?
I mean, is it worth eating up a practice squad spot for a guy that, I mean, you're already going to be struggling to get Mason Rudolph reps.
True.
How are you going to get, who's going to run the scout team? I mean, there's going to be a lot of standing around for Joshua Dobbs, in my opinion. And you hold him all that time and you get to week 10 and somebody can still snatch him away. I would have no issue with it if you told me right now, Dave, we're going to put him on the practice squad. He'll stay there all year, guaranteed, and he'll be your number 3 next year. I'd sign up for it. I would, but I just don't see from a, nuts and bolts and length of lines, and I just don't see the practicality of it when, the guy that you want getting some scout team or whatever snaps during practices would be Mason Rudolph.
That's a great point, and that's a very good question. I don't know what the 4th quarterback would do during a week, but I mean, I think there's a good chance you put in the practice squad, you're going to lose him mid-season, but you might as well take that chance, because if you lose him, it's the same as cutting him outright and him going somewhere else. So at least you're taking that chance, and maybe he sticks around. I obviously there's a talent to stay there on the practice squad, and then there's talent to make the 53. So you'd hate to cut a guy. 1, you invested a 4th round pick in just a year ago, and 2, that has the talent to be on a 53 and definitely a practice squad. So it's a really interesting situation. Could you try to flip him for a 7th? Do you think you can get a 7th out of Josh Dobbs or some team?
Yeah.
Is that asking too much? Some conditional Eli Harrell went for a conditional 7th?
if he was a slam dunk number 2. I mean, I maybe, but I mean, we talked about this, David and I already. Only half the teams keep 3 quarterbacks, right? So you're already whittled down. Let's say half of those 16 teams are already comfortable with the number 3 that they have. Mm-hmm. So that only leaves 8 teams, right? I mean,
Yeah.
how many of those 8 teams are going to be? Now, obviously, you could use the argument it only takes one team. You
Sure.
know, I don't see it, man. I think people are overrating what he's done this preseason. I really do. And now, if he goes out there and just, because let's face it, against the Panthers, he ought to play a lot against the Panthers. It should be Rudolph and Dobbs. It should be a
Hmm.
repeat probably of the second preseason game more than likely.
Yep.
If he goes out and just tears it up against the Panthers, even though it would probably be against a lot of furniture movers and pizza delivery guys, maybe a team, maybe that raises the eyebrows and all. But I mean, he's not going to get any exposure this week.
Right.
That's going to hurt him. And B, how are people overrating what he did in week 2?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I didn't think the performance was as good as the numbers indicate. I know I took a lot of criticism for my criticism of Josh Dobbs. Yeah, I think you could potentially do a conditional seventh. I know that's a very boring thing to talk about. Eli Harold just got traded from the Niners to the Lions for a conditional seventh, and the condition is Harold has to be on the roster for the first 4 weeks, otherwise you get nothing in return. So maybe you could try to structure it some way like that, and just hope. But yeah, it's a tough spot to be and I feel for Josh Dobbs because he's a talented player. I think he can be a number 2 in this league, but he's just in a bad situation with some bad luck.
He's not a number 2 yet, though, right?
No, not yet. No, but I think he can become. I think he can become a better version of Landry Jones. It's not where he's at now, but that's not where Landry Jones was at the second year of his NFL career.
Can he be Jacoby Brissett?
I mean, how do you look at Jacoby Brissett? Do you see Brissett as a starter in this league? Or?
No.
Okay.
Even though he has, I think personally, I think Jacoby Brissett's has been a little bit overrated. We see what Bill Belichick thought of him. I mean, to get the bologna sandwich, for him. But regardless, we'll see. I wish they could keep him. I wish they could. But
one last thought, and I know this is minor, but the idea of getting Dobbs to the practice squad, and I know it kind of almost just occupies a spot. You do have 11 spots this year with Christian Scotland Williamson being the exemption, so maybe that makes you feel a tiny bit better about quote unquote using up a spot on a quarterback because you have an extra spot to play with.
I suppose, but
I know I'm really grasping at straws here.
Yeah, but that it's not like you can rotate that spot around to a different position. If the line got short at one position and you could flip that 11 spot around for another position, that's one thing. But he's got to be that guy.
Yeah, no, I understand, but I mean, you need to keep it tight on the practice squad,
right?
So you don't have to keep like a second.
I get the argument, and it would really be the only argument, in my opinion, for being able to keep Dobbs. Really, is because you do have that. In other words, you don't need to keep one of your 10 spots for a tight end,
right.
which
leaves you 9 left. Now you have 10 left.
Right, which they usually keep a tight end on the practice squad anyway.
Right.
So, but the thing is he's just a poor Christian Scotland Williamson. I mean, he's not going to the 53 this year. What if you got into a situation where you needed somebody? Would you just constantly just pluck off the street to go to your 53? I suppose. I mean, it's going to be interesting. The only thing I'd put my money on right now is the Steelers not keeping 4 quarterbacks on their 53.
That's very easy, Bunny.
Right. I think that's the only thing I would do right now at this point. I don't know which way they're going to go after that. So, is Dobbs a guy that you claim off waivers if you're another team?
Maybe it just depends on how bad your situation is. I think the odds are low for all the reasons you mentioned. How many teams are going to be in the need for a number 3? Usually you want those guys to have either done something in the NFL or they're in-house guys you know well. So probably not, but I mean, I'm floating the idea of trading for a 7th, so maybe there is.
All right, Mike Tomlin ruled out four guys for the Steelers game against the Titans on Saturday, which, by the way, if you have not read SteelersDepot.com, that game will be broadcast live now on the NFL Network with Bob Pompiani, Charlie Batch, Missy Matthews. If you live out of area and you have NFL Network, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, you should be able to get that on NFL Network. So that's a bit of good news, I think, there. Mike Tomlin did say that players currently dealing with injuries such as Ramon Foster, Vance McDonald, cornerback Mike Hilton, and tight end Xavier Grimble will all sit out against the Titans on Saturday. You probably could have bet good money that Foster and McDonald and Grimble would be on that list. A little bit concerned about Mike Hilton now, who on that opening punt coverage came up lame and evidently hasn't practiced since. So hopefully he's able to get back by the start of the regular season. Mike Tomlin seems to be optimistic about Ramon Foster and Vance McDonald, and really for Kevin Colbert too, with both those guys plus Xavier Grimble all being ready for week 1 of the regular season. Probably here's the thing about Foster and Vance McDonald. How is their football conditioning going to be a couple of weeks from now? And would it make sense to kind of bring them along slowly, especially a guy like Vance McDonald? In other words, either Foster's 100% or he's not. If he's not, then you start B.J. Finney at left guard until Foster's ready to go. As far as Vance McDonald goes, he's missed enough time now that even if you got him back limited practice today, which is not going to happen, you kind of wonder how long you can take to get him up to speed.
I mean, I'd like to think it takes about a week probably for him to get back and to kind of get in the groove again. But I know Tomlin said he's close to. Did you say, Dave, he's close to partial participation?
Yeah, yeah, he's close.
I mean, that's a win right now for us.
He's close to partial,
which means individual work, for the record.
Right, but I mean not full. So I mean, how long are we talking away from full? I mean, we're in that start. We're in that week 1 category now of him maybe starting back full.
Hopefully, and then you're right. He won't be 100%, kind of guy. He's going to have to be rotated, which I guess is fine because you have Jesse, you have a known guy there. But yeah, it's just been a big bummer because, Ben wasn't around for OTAs. Vance gets hurt on day 3 at camp. They just have not had much practice time. It's been a year now since Vance McDonald's been a Steeler, and they've barely practiced together. And that's always a little difficult to try to get that chemistry going.
You're just in the column with him now that, I mean, if he plays 8 games, great, I think.
Yeah, I mean, here's my thought with Vance McDonald is that he's going to miss probably like half the season because it just always happens for Vance McDonald. But you're trading for him for that playoff push. You're banking that he's going to be healthy for the playoffs. He's going to recover whatever injury's there, and he can just give you a month of good play that pushes you over the top. You can get to the playoffs. You can win the AFC North without Vance McDonald, no question about that. It's just get him healthy for the playoffs and then help push you over the top.
We're coming up on the year anniversary of them trading for him. I have gradually gone from very excited about him. I shouldn't say very excited. Decently excited about him to just shaking my head now. So I'm resigned to the fact of anything that you get out of him now. Good deal, and send him on the way after the season, and hopefully he can get me moving back in that. Because look, when he's on the field, he's a good damn blocker, and we saw what he can bring to this offense as being able to step on people's toes as a route runner.
Yep.
We've seen that. That's the thing that had me excited in the first place. Yeah, he's going to have 8 drops, blah, blah, blah. I'm fine with that. Give me what you gave me as a blocker and what you gave me as a route runner against Jacksonville. I'll find a way to cover up those 8 drops that he's going to have, right? But I'm just resigned to the fact now that I mean, he might only play 8 games. Okay, as far as the other guys, Mike Tomlin's going to leave the proverbial light on for Antonio Brown, Morgan Burnett, Dan McCullers, T.J. Watt. All have worked in a limited light capacity this week. I mean, I'd like to see Antonio Brown run a series or two, but at the flip side, I'll be fine if he comes out of the locker room in bubble wrap. Morgan Burnett, you'd like to see him get some snaps. We've seen enough of Dan. I mean, I'm lukewarm on Dan. If T.J. Watt's not 100%, you don't send him out there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, if none of these guys are 100%, I'm not risking any longer-term injury just for a preseason game. I mean, you'd love to get those guys snaps now. I'm glad Sean Davis, at least I assume Sean Davis is expected to play. I mean, that's going to be big for him. I have to go back through it, Dave, and try to figure out what the number is. But how many practices has this starting 11, and I call it starting 12 because you're including the nickel corner as well, Mike Hilton, practiced together this year? I don't know if it's one? I think it's one.
Yeah, I
think it's the first practice of camp. Because Burnett, I think, missed on day 2.
Wow.
And then Watt got hurt day 3.
Yeah, I mean, if Watt was hurt, Watt obviously hasn't practiced, so that's one that's easy to do the math there, right? I mean, and then how many would be two of those guys down? We missed Bud Dupree for what, a week, a little bit more than a week, right?
Yeah, you've had Sean Davis out. You've had Burnett miss 2 separate occasions. Now Hilton's out. So even if Watt came back today, Hilton's out.
And you know who's been practicing at least is the middle linebacker. Thank God.
Right. And I bring this up because, what was it? Mike Mitchell a couple years ago had missed the entire camp because of I think a hamstring injury. And Keith Butler,
groin. Okay. First season, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. And Keith Butler cited that as one of the problems with the defense getting off to a slow start, is that they just hadn't practiced together. And we know, obviously, the communication issues this team had last year, all the new faces that were brought in this year, especially in the secondary, and they just have not had a ton of reps together as a unit. Joe Hayden's missed some time as well.
Right, with Stinger, and he should play, hopefully, against the Titans. Hopefully, you're going to see the entire back half of this starting defense against the Titans, right? By back half, I'm talking about inside linebackers, and you're not going to see Mike Hilton, are you? So
no, and Burnett didn't practice in the Family Fest. I don't know what his status is, but I'm not convinced. I don't know if he's going to go or not.
Yeah, that's true. So I would like to see Sean Davis run around out there. I want to.
Yeah.
Like to see Hayden out there. We're probably not going to see Mike Hilton out there, but it probably wouldn't hurt to see some Cam Sutton playing more of his role, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have a good backup for Hilton and Sutton, so that's comforting at least.
All right, moving past the injuries now, what are we looking? Let me start this. Do they make cards? Does Hallmark make a card for hurting the feelings of an outside linebacker?
I know who you're talking about, and I don't know the answer to that.
Well, he sure got defensive too, and that carried over to his talk with the media this week too, right?
Yeah, I listened to some of it. I don't generally know what Dupree is like with the media. I don't think about that, so I don't know if it was more defensive than usual. But you're not getting a card from him, I'll tell you that much.
Should I send him one?
Only
if he has a good. I mean, look, one of the things we're looking for, right, is Taylor Lewan versus Bud Dupree in this game. Circle it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, big matchup.
And don't give me this scheme, blah blah blah. Get after it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't just try to speed rush around. You want to show me something? You want to show me something this week? Show me something, bud. Show me something against Taylor Lewan. How many times is the excuse he's going against one of the better tackles in the league? How long can you do that?
Not much longer. Not any longer. You got to put that aside. You start winning.
I mean, how about start becoming one of the better outside linebackers in the league?
Oh, you're going roast battle on me.
No, I mean, look.
Jeff Ross up here.
Right.
No, I agree. Chris Hoke had some great commentary on Bud Dupree last show.
I mean, and you agree with that, right?
Yeah. I know. I've talked about that before. He's got to have more than one move. He's got to have an inside counter. He's got to have a power counter.
And even his own defensive line pass rush specialist has said that.
Mm-hmm.
We're not creating a circle. Look, if he beats if he has 4 nice pass rushes against Taylor Lewan, no sacks, but gets some pressure, shows us some counter, I'll write about it. I'll highlight it.
Mm-hmm.
But I have done nothing wrong, Alex.
The one caveat to last week I will say, and I think I talked about this before, I know Chris Hoke mentioned, is that Dupree had only had 1 practice before that Packers game. So I think it was his first game, missing a lot of time, first game of the preseason for him. So hopefully, obviously you wanted it to be a lot better, but I thought it was a decent outing, just all things considered, but you want to see him win against some top.
I said he had my whole point of that post was to contextualize his successes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I did. He had successes. I'm not saying that he did not have successes.
Right.
I don't hate the guy. Now does he need to earn that fifth year option this year? Yes, he does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me right now, if he's the same player throughout this season that he's been, then you have to release him at the start of the new league year. You absolutely have to, in my opinion.
Yeah, if he doesn't play well this year, you're finding a new right outside linebacker next year. Simple as that.
All right. That matchup, Dupree versus Taylor Lewan, what else are you looking for? You're excited to see?
I mean, it's everything, but, I thought Tomlin lit off his press conference yesterday talking about containing Marcus Mariota, keeping the quarterback within the pocket. They did not do a good enough job last week against Rodgers and Hundley and Kaiser. So you have a similar guy in Marcus Mariota, so I want to see better contain. So just kind of a position group-wise and kind of a scheme thing, that front seven's got to keep Mariota in the pocket. That's one thing I'm looking for.
Offensively, anything? I mean, I want to see, and I kind of hinted about this past week, I want to see James Conner, a more concerted effort to use James Conner in all phases of the passing game.
Yeah, that would be one thing we haven't seen a whole lot from him. He's got 1 or 2 receptions, I think, in the preseason. I think they've both been screens. They're game planning a lot more this week, and I know you don't have Vance McDonald, but I'm curious to see if you see some more stuff from Randy Fichtner getting the tight end on the move, even if it's not going to be the most effective thing, just to get that concept out there and to rep that. So I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's something that you saw early in camp when Vance was healthy, and hopefully you see it a little bit against the Titans.
We know James Conner can run between the tackles. We know James Conner can really get the edge on a few plays as well, too. We saw that last year. We know he can break tackles. We know he can. We know that he can. One thing that I'm not sure that have we seen a lot of him running behind the power with the pulling guard? We've seen that a few times, enough to I think we're comfortable with it. I want to see him out in space. And I want to see him pass protect. I don't care if they don't hand the football off to him one time. Against the Titans, I want to see him work out of the backfield, maybe split out wide one time, and I want to see him pass protect. That's some of the things I want to see out of him in this game. What are you doing with the backs behind him?
I want to get Jalen Samuels some time. I I wouldn't mind giving Jalen Samuels a couple reps with the ones. Get some pony stuff with Connor and Samuels. Samuels split out Connor in the backfield. That's what they did in camp a lot. So why not carry it over to a game situation? The other guys, I don't know what Ridley's health is. He's missed some time. But my focus is on, generally what you have with Toussaint and Ridley. I want to try to get Jalen Samuels as long a look as possible with the starters.
Where are you on? Did you put him on your 53?
I did. I was going to talk about if you wanted to transition at some point to my 53. I still have him on there. I know David Todd's kind of been downplaying it, but I have him keeping 4. But Jalen Samuels is one of my 4.
Yeah. What has he done so far that makes you pounding the table to keep him?
Versatility is one. Again, he's got enough work with the ones that I feel like they want to get a long look at him. I think he's gotten better. I think he had a good game against Green Bay after a quiet debut versus Philly. There's some special teams value, a little bit of the kick return team, maybe a little bit of coverage units. But just a unique guy that I think, 'cause if you have if you have four true running backs on this roster, I mean, they're not going to see the field because you have Le'Veon Bell, and I mean, Bell's never coming off the field as a runner. So what else can other guys do to get themselves on the field? And what Jalen Samuels offers that these other guys don't is his ability as a receiver and his comfort in space, his comfort lining wide, and I almost think he's more comfortable there than he is as a running back right now. And that's a way that you can get him on the field and add another element to your offense.
Are you also keeping 6 receivers?
In my last roster prediction, no, I'm still with 5, but Tucker's making a pretty compelling case. If it's going to be 6, it's going to be Marcus Tucker. Patterson's not making the 53.
They're not going to keep 4 running backs and 6 wide receivers, right? 4 true running backs.
No, I get the distinction. Probably not. I mean, you could do it. But you're cutting a safety, a corner.
Linebacker.
You're probably cutting. Yeah, I mean, the way I have it constructed, you could, but I'd be a little surprised.
I still think I think you've got a little bit of be right bias with Samuels right now. That's where I am.
Who are your running backs?
I've got Fitz right now, and I'm fixing to try to write this up today or tomorrow. My latest 53. You guys.
So you only have 3?
3 and Rosie.
Okay, but do you think they can keep 4?
Is it possible? Yeah, it's possible.
Let's assume they keep 4. Who's your 4th guy then?
I think you keep Samuels because he is a draft pick. Then,
all right. Well,
he's going to be
4.
inactive though. I mean,
that's fine. Yeah, I would do 2 dogs, 1 bone thing with Fitz and Samuels each week, and whoever's playing better gets that. I mean, I have 4 running backs, and I have Samuels and Toussaint as my 3 and 4. So I think if you went 4, you'd be in agreement with me.
I think Fitz gives you more all the way around right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's a veteran. Yeah, I think that's clear. But
I would not want to put Samuels in the game if I knew he had to pass protect. Look, what has he done on the ground so far? I mean, he's, I purposely highlighted him because his numbers do not reflect him able to yards after contact, both as a running back and as a receiver. So I wanted to highlight that this past week, which I did, but it's still it's not in the realm of, oh my God, you got to keep this guy.
Right.
He hasn't done much on the ground. He's only caught 1 or 2 passes or a handful of 4 passes. I forget how many passes he's caught so far. There's nothing there on tape that makes me say, and even if I'm another team that says, wow, I got to have this guy. That's where I am at him. And because I'm not there on him, why not just waive him and put him on the practice squad and let him be your practice squad running back?
Yeah, I mean that's one option. It wouldn't hurt my feelings too much, but I mean I get that on the ground. What has he done on the ground? I think he ran well last week against Green Bay, though. I think he ran tough. As pass protection, I don't want him pass protecting, obviously. But how often is he going to be asked to do those things? You have Le'Veon Bell, you have James Conner. Those are your backfield guys. Samuels is. I'm not viewing Samuels as a backfield guy. If he comes into the game for me, it's more than likely going to be as a receiver type. And he's
right. But how many times a game, if you dress him, are you going to do that?
I think you can add a couple of wrinkles to it, especially if you're missing the tight ends. Fance isn't 100% week 1. I'm not saying he's going to play 20 snaps, but if he gets 3 or 4 snaps for a number 3 running back, I mean, any number 3 running back's not going to play more than – generally the number 3 running back on this team doesn't play a single snap on offense, so he's giving you a new element that you didn't have before.
I don't want to say we're polar opposites on the guy, but I think of one draft pick right now when it comes to the 53 that you and I might have a difference of opinion in. This might be the kid, right?
I think so. And again, I'm not saying he has to be active. I mean, there's good questions about if you keep Toussaint and he's not active, then who's your kick returner? I mean, you can go down the line of all those problems. But I'm just saying, I think Samuels gives you a new element. And I think in camp he was getting work with the ones consistently. And it's hard for me to see a guy that works with the ones that they get that long of a look at him and they just end up cutting him and send the practice squad. Especially if you keep 4. If you want to say keep 3 and then you Fitz as your 3, I get it. But if you're keeping 4, I think you have to put Jalen Samuels.
Right. If they do keep him, then they are keeping 4. Is that what you're saying?
That's a good question. I'd probably say yes to that.
If they keep just 3 plus Rosie, they're not keeping him.
Yeah, if they keep 3, it'll be Fitz. If they keep 4, it'll be Fitz and Samuels.
And it's hands down Fitz over Ridley right now, right? I mean, bless Ridley's heart. I mean, Fitz. I get it. Look, people do not like Fitzgerald Toussaint. I get it. Most of you listening to this podcast right now cannot get the thought of him fumbling that ball against Denver out of your head. But if you remove that, and I know you can't have that surgically removed, he is a good all-around running back.
Yeah, and he's going to give you the most on special teams. And I've learned, Dave, that anytime you say in your very southern self, bless his heart, it's never followed by good news.
Right.
That makes me laugh.
Well, Keith Butler, dadgummit.
Yeah,
that's something that's said quite a bit in the South there.
Yeah.
I get it when it comes to Fitzgerald Toussaint, but right now I think he's just a better running back and a better all-around football player than Jalen Samuels is. Will I be shocked if Fitzgerald Toussaint's cut? No. But I just think that he is the better player right now. We still got 2 weeks of preseason left, and Mike Thomas said the sands are running through the hourglass, and we've seen guys make differences in the final 2 preseason. Heck, Rosie Nix probably made the didn't he go from being a guy that what's going to happen here during his first season in Pittsburgh to making the team based on what happened in a lot of things can still change. Do I think it's going to change for a guy like Quadri Henderson? No. No, but I think there maybe there's 1 or 2 guys that can end up kicking in the door down here right now. 2 of those guys, Damon Patterson or Damon Patterson and Ola Adeni. These are big. These are big weeks for these are big weeks for them, right?
Yeah, I mean, you heard Colbert, say them directly, say their names, say these guys have talent, they've made plays, but they got to be more consistent. And I've had a DNA on my roster for a large part of camp. I took him off though, so he's right on the bubble for me. I still don't think Patterson's going to make it. I think both those guys are practice squad. A DNA could be 53 because he's going to be like kind of a roster numbers crunch kind of guy.
I'm with you. I don't think either are locks right now.
No, but I mean, I don't think anyone other than a Yinzer would argue that they're locks.
Right, but both of them. Look, you've got 3 undrafted guys this year that it won't be a surprise if they're on or off the roster, and that's Patterson, Matthew Thomas, and Adeni, right? Anybody else on the outside, that you'd give a shot?
No, I mean those are really. Let me check my practice squad, make sure I'm not missing anyone obvious here. No, those would be the guys. But thank God for that.
Sugar, Chris Sugar, how do you pronounce his last name?
Schluger.
That maybe there's something there.
Practice squad, I bet. I mean, how are you framing this?
No, I'm saying something there to work with to keep around.
Yeah, he's a physical. I mean, you saw the play, the GIF, I guess I posted of him throwing that linebacker down the goal line. He's a physical, old school kind of guy. He played tackle in college, and now he's a guard. And
didn't he get some center snaps?
Not in Pittsburgh, no. Larson Graham came in to play center after.
It was Graham. Yeah, okay, that's what I'm thinking. Graham came in, and we know. All right, well, who you keeping
on the practice squad?
Right.
In my roster, I have RJ Prince as my interior guy, and then I took a flyer. I'm going to say they keep Zach Banner around. They like big tackles, and they cannot lie. And he's a big guy that I think it's worth. Jake Rogers hasn't been as impressive as I thought he'd be.
Yeah, Jake has fallen kind of off of that last game against Green Bay. That was bad. To me, I don't know what I didn't think Prince was great in that game against the Packers.
No, I don't think he was great, but I think there's talent there. I think he's a good size, athleticism kind of guy. I think it was a nice blend there with him.
Morris
is possible. He's got an ankle injury right now. I mean, Morris is kind of underwhelmed for me. Morris and Greg Gilmore were 2 guys I talked up a good bit. Morris hasn't been bad. He's just, I think, weak at the point of attack because he's an undersized guy. It's possible they keep him, but I want to go a little different direction.
All right, have we beat this up pretty good? James Washington, obviously want to look at him getting some time with Ben. Evidently got a pretty good scolding from Ben on that play that Ben. I can envision them running it. It's that whole shot that Ben loves against cover 2, and evidently James Washington thought, I got my corner beat, I'm just going to go, and Ben wanted him kind of settle more in between the safety and the corner, and Ben threw it to where he thought Washington should be, and Washington's taken off. And Ben had to have a talking to with him. I get that. Those are the kind of things that you would hope that you get worked out right now. I'd rather it work out now than during the regular season. But all that said, the tough love that Ben's giving James Washington, everything else has looked spectacular about this kid. So I'm excited. I want to see Washington in this game with Ben early. And I want to see Ben target him like 5 times in a row.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, throw a jump ball to him. Just see what happens.
I would do that. I want to see him catch the back shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see him run this cover 2 hole shot with Ben throwing to him. And I want to see Ben throw him the quick slant. I want to see, give it to me. I don't care if Ben has to force the football and throws 3 picks in this game. I want to see him get some work done with James Washington. Give me the guy that we're talking about on offense and defense that we're talking the most about. Maybe not me and you, but maybe David Todd and I on Monday morning.
Oh man, I don't know. Hopefully Marcus Tucker continues to ascend. I think he's had a good camp after getting hurt early. He's done well in special teams. That's going to be his ticket, so a chance for him. Defensively, I think Keon Adams. Has really had a nice couple of games here, at least as a pass rusher. His run defense is a little different story, but I think Adams has been close to getting some sacks, and I think he gets home this week.
I think we're talking about... I'm going to go Mason. I think Mason Rudolph bounces back. In this game. So I'm going to say offense, him. Defensively, oh, yikes. Is it too easy to bail out and go Matthew Thomas?
We'll let you have that one.
All right, I'll go Matthew Thomas there because I think he's going to get a lot of burn in the second half. I think possibility of making another play or two in there. All right, anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I just had one last quick thing. One of my favorite things I look forward to each year, each camp, Bob Labriolo on Steelers.com has a list of the practice squad eligible players this year for Pittsburgh. I know that the practice squad rules get confusing, so I just kind of let someone else tell me who's eligible or not. Most of the names are Jordan Dangerfield, still eligible, which is a little surprising. Levon Hook, still eligible, a little surprising. One name that I saw that is not eligible, and I know most people don't care about this, but Deshaun Phillips, the corner this team traded for last year, does not appear to have any practice squad eligibility remaining.
I don't think L.J. Fort's on that list either, is he? Or no?
Right. No, L.J. Fort is out of practice squad eligibility, but I think most people know that at this point.
Right. So, okay. Got the game coming up. You and I will be busy on SteelersDepot.com the rest of today and on into Saturday and on into Saturday night. Going to be a busy weekend with the game for us once again. As usual, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow David Todd on Twitter at David M. Todd. You can follow Alex Kozora at Alex_Kozora. You can follow the show at Terrible Podcast. That's a lot of ats. You can email us, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, maybe set up some sort of monthly donation for the show, go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit that donate button. Also, we have a new feature we've been working on all summer, trying to work the bugs out of that a lot of people probably don't know it's up there. Maybe you get sight blind a few times and don't recognize everything. But we have now available an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com for $25 a year. And via PayPal, you can not only help the site with a donation that way, but you can get yourself out of seeing ads for a year. So we think we've got that all ironed out now. Alex and I are doing a better job of promoting it starting here on the podcast. Go to SteelersDepot.com and hit the ad-free button right there in the upper navigational bar. So until Monday, I'm going to go out, take my wife out for a birthday dinner today, Alex. So I appreciate you holding down the fort today. I'll be back writing on the site later this afternoon on into Saturday, and David Todd should be back with me on Monday. As always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and David. Today, the great Alex Kozora. Peace and love.